I got myself a new toy. I wonder what this could be. Stay tuned and I will tell you. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs and the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to my weekly vlog for Monday, January the 10th, 2022. And it is the 672nd day of COVID, and this is episode number 248. And so we're going to jump right in with what I've been working on. I haven't gotten that far on this project, but I'll just switch the camera over so you can see what I'm talking about. And there it is there. And this is the Little Town Christmas quilt I'm working on. It's called The Little Tilt. It's by Chelsea Stratton from A Quilter's Life, or Quilting Life, I think is what it's called. And right here I'm showing you I have 6 of the houses done. Actually, I have 10 of the houses done because I got a few more done yesterday. And next thing I have to work on are the trees with the stars on the top, and I need 10 of those as well. Now I have 2 of those done, so I have 8 left to go. Then I can put the whole quilt together. It's coming along pretty nicely. I think it's going to be very colorful. It is a Christmas quilt, although, as I said last week when I talked about this, you could, with switching out your colors and things, I think make this for any season, which might be kind of fun as well. I think this would also look really interesting as a black and white quilt as well. Will I make other ones of this? I don't think I will. I'm pretty much done with making little houses right now, because although these aren't difficult, they're a little bit tedious because there's some really small little pieces in that. I'm going to dissect this pattern in a little bit more detail tomorrow on the Idiot Quilter. So if you're interested in that, you can tune in to the Idiot Quilter tomorrow when it comes out. Okay, back to me. All right, so that's all I've been really working on. Well, that's not true. I've been doing some 3D printing as well. I'm always doing 3D printing. Starting to get a little concerned about where I'm going to put all my creations for 3D printing, but I guess I'll find a spot. I don't know. But anyways, that takes us to the YouTube channel of the week. This one's a little different. It has nothing to do with crafting, has nothing to do with quilting or sewing. It actually has a lot to do with getting a great deal of joy out of other people's misery. It's called Dashcam Lessons, and you'll see what I mean when you watch this. This week's YouTube channel is called Dashcam Lessons, and basically this is a series of videos that have been submitted by people who subscribe, I guess, to this network, showing weird things they have captured on their dash cam. Now, of course, most of these involve road rage and collisions and things like that. But it's just amazing to watch what happens, you know, what stupid things stupid people do on the road and how they handle their rage as well. Now, there's quite a few videos on here, so you can go down a rabbit's hole very easily with this. I think they're organized in playlists as well, and they are. So you have things like best of hit and runs, best of parking fails, best of semi-trucks, best of Karens, which is interesting, best of brake checks and karma, just a whole list of things here. So if you want something that's going to amuse you, somewhat astound you as well, but always entertain you, then you may want to check this particular YouTube channel out. And again, it's called Dashcam Lessons. And so you will find the link for Dashcam Lessons in the show notes below. You'll also find a link for Stephen and Walter Live. As I've said before, we always start out with some kind of a topic we're going to talk about, but we never ever get to it. There's just so many tangents we go off on, and yesterday was pretty much the same with all of that. But we had some interesting conversation with the people who came on to watch and participate, and I've noticed that lately over the last few weeks I'm getting a few more viewers of that, but even more importantly than the viewers is the participation of people feeling comfortable enough to put in their 2 cents worth, which is always welcome as long as it's done in a positive and creative way, and it always is. And yeah, that really generates, I think, an interesting YouTube recording. So if you've never seen Stephen and Walter live, you might want to check out the latest edition of that, and it's linked in the show notes below. There's also a link to the Idiot Quilter, episode 148, where I do a year in review for me and plans for 2022. There's an edition of Chatty. I'm having a little trouble with my lips this morning. Not unusual. So Chatty, episode 42, which has to do with patterns and problems you might have when you get a pattern and start working on a project. And we looked at that from the viewpoint of a quilter and a viewpoint of a sewist, Walter. So yeah, you might want to check that out, especially if you're a new sewer or quilter. There are some pitfalls with patterns. Not all patterns are equal. There is another little insert here of the Idiot Quilter Presents Musings about my resolution to make no resolutions for the new year. And I still am looking for people to interview for that spot on my YouTube. So please think about it. I make this plea all the time and I'm getting nobody. So I'm just going to torture you with my musings in that spot. So if you don't want to listen to me, you want to listen to somebody else, put yourself out there, let me interview you. It's painless. Really, it is. Okay. Looking down, what's next? Okay. New segment, which I started last week. What does the world look like from outside my front window on my house? Well, I'm going to show you this here. I'm just going to switch my camera over to that. And there you go. There's what it looks like at approximately 8:30 today, Monday, January the 10th. I'm moving ahead. So sun's coming up. Sun comes up later these days because we are now into the midst of winter, but you'll notice that we do not have much snow. It's very gray, it's very dull. We did have snow. Most of it has melted away. It's been cold, but not unbearably cold. Like right now, I look at my watch, it says we're at -8. Well, yeah, that's cold, but not as cold as it could be in other parts of Canada. As I've mentioned before, we live in Florida of Canada, kind of a thing, Southern Ontario. And Southern Ontario tends to be relatively warm. Vancouver actually used to have a much more temperate climate than we do in the wintertime, but this year they're buried. From what I'm hearing on the newscast, they've had a really, really cold spell and have had a lot of snow. And well, I just say haha to my brother who lives in Abbotsford, because one of the reasons they moved out there at one time, or were looking forward to moving out there many years ago, was because it was a much milder kind of temperature in the wintertime than it is here. But anyways, I don't know if this all has to do with global warming, but there's what it looks like today. Not really all that enticing, is it? Okay, so let's take that off. Come back to me. And you may have noticed that I'm doing something over on the one side to switch my screens. I'm coming to that. I'm going to talk about a new toy that I just bought, and I'm loving it. But before I do that, I want to talk about what's pissing me off this week. And it's the people who insist upon partying. Yes, having a good time during this time of the pandemic. Now, this has been spurred on by something that happened last week that was in the news. Apparently, there was a chartered flight with Sunwing that went from, I think, out of Montreal down to Mexico. It had a lot of young people on it. This was a chartered event. There was a young guy, about 28 years old in Montreal. He does this for a living. He's an event planner, which basically is an excuse to make money from people who want to party. And I don't have any problem with that. You know, that's fine. But I do have a problem with it when you're jeopardizing other people's lives. And that's what this person who set this up did, and the yahoos that were on this flight to Mexico. They're young. They're in like their mid 20s into their maybe mid 30s. So I consider that young. And that seems to be the age group during this pandemic that seem to be giving us the most problem in terms of super spreaders and things. They just don't get it through their stupid little heads, do they? That you can't act like a child during the pandemic. Well, you shouldn't be acting like a child at that age anyways, in the best of times. But here they are. They're all on this plane. They're not sitting in their seats. There's about 180 of them or something like that. Might have been even more than that. They're drinking. They're smoking. Well, vaping. One person anyways is. They're just being loud, obnoxious, bouncing off the ceiling, the whole bit. Not a mask to be seen. And here's the even more stupid part. It's not just stupid that they're in there possibly spreading the disease, and they're going to get off into another country. And with the attitude they've got on the plane, I think that attitude would carry over to when they were going to Mexico or once they arrived in Mexico. So there you go. They're going to come into contact with people in Mexico and just spread the germs. But that's stupid in itself. But what else is stupid is these people record it for all time, their stupid antics. They were taking video and pictures and posting it on social media. That's why I know there was one stupid chick in there, and yeah, she's a stupid chick, vaping away, having a good time, while there's all these other yahoos like just being animals through the whole thing. This is how we know. Well, guess what? Whole bunch of them got tested positive for COVID. And Sunwing says they're not bringing them back. Good for Sunwing. Now, I don't like Sunwing as a company. They're shifty. They're sleazy from what I've heard about. If you want a cut rate holiday, you go on Sunwing and you may get there, you may not. But in this instance, I think Sunwing did the right thing. They're not bringing these diseased people back to our country. Now, somebody said, shouldn't they have put the plane down when it was over the United States? Because this was all happening then. And the answer Sunwing gave was, well, they really couldn't. Well, that's an economic thing. Basically, planes don't make money unless they're full. And so when they go down to one spot, they intend to come right back with a full load of passengers on a return trip. So yeah, you get that. Plus they have to pay a certain amount of fees to drop into an airport kind of a thing, and all that. Okay, yeah, I get the economics of it. But nevertheless, I still think they made the right decision not to bring the yahoos back. Now, the yahoos, it goes further. The yahoos, I'm sure, have had the air let out of their sails. If they have any ounce of intelligence, they will realize they have done something bad, and they must suffer the consequences. Now, in my way of thinking, I think we should bring back old-fashioned stonings. Let's go biblical on these people. Put them in a big pit, and everybody gets a brick and gets to hit them with it. But apparently we have laws against that because that becomes like mass murder or something like that. Yeah, silly me. However, they're not getting back. They have to quarantine at their own expense. Some of them are crying the blues that they can't afford that. Yeah, well, you could afford a trip to Mexico. You should have thought about that before you acted like a yahoo. So, play you the tiny little violin. I wouldn't even give you that much for that. And some of them did come back. Some of them got back, but they slipped by somehow. Air Canada said they didn't know. And 20 of them or something managed to get onto a return flight on Air Canada. Air Canada has turned around and said they are not going down to rescue these people. Our government is not doing anything for them. They're on their own because they violated all of the restrictions and all the guidelines that have been put out by our government and that have been put out by Transportation Canada and everybody else for that. So, it just gets more stupid as it goes. Now, some of these, couple of the people on there were aspiring pilots. I think they were actually taking training to become pilots themselves. Guess what? They got kicked out of their course. They're never going to become a pilot now. So there's going to be wide range of consequences that are going to follow these people for the rest of their lives. And what do I say to that? Good. Good. And some of the other ones, their employers have seen the videos because they put it all on social media. Because these people, some of them are influencers. That's a term that is thrown around very lightly. Social influencers. You know, really? They're basically people who make YouTube videos and have a great following on them and make lots of money from it. That's their business. Or they do things on Facebook or on TikTok or on Twitter or whatever. All these kind of things. And usually it's that age bracket that are whatever Generation Z or the Millenniums or something. I don't know. There's a label for all these people that were born at certain times, you know, but whatever. So their antics have been seen on their social media. How clever was that? And their employers, if they have a job, have hired some of them. Now, in our country, they have no recourse in this. They can't sue the employer. They can't take it to human rights. They can't claim that they're wrongfully dismissed because our government and the lawyers as well have all said, you lose your job because of violating the restrictions during the pandemic, then basically your employer has the right to do that and there is no recourse. So suck it up, buttercup. So more consequences. There were a few of them that worked for the federal government as well. And they've lost their government jobs. Now, government jobs are nice jobs to have. There's a pension involved in them. They don't pay too badly, you know. So they've lost what is a good job as well. And I say again, good. So at this point, I haven't heard any more reports. I know that this guy who organized this whole thing, he's trying to cover his ass. It's not working very well because I am sure once these people do finally get back to Canada, that they will be trying to put or to form lawsuits against the organizer. And I don't think they're going to have a lot of luck there either. He managed to get home. He was on that flight too, but he managed to get back home. Interesting. Very interesting. So anyways, yep, stupid people. And you know, throughout this whole pandemic, the one thing it has brought out is how many stupid people there are in our world. And unfortunately, there are a lot. Now, it is too bad, and you're going to hate me for saying this, but it's too bad that this disease didn't just focus on the really stupid people in this world and wipe them off the planet. But I guess it's not that selective. But anyways, I think these people could be fined as well. We'll see what happens there. I'm really hoping that our government and everybody else involved penalizes these people as far as they possibly can. Because if they're in social influencers and all this, and they have decent jobs and the whole bit, you would expect they'd have a brain in their head. Well, apparently they do not. So really, they are a waste of oxygen. And I hope they are suffering because there is actually no excuse for this kind of bad behavior. Absolutely none. So we'll see what happens to them. It'll be in the news, I'm sure. Okay, moving on. Product reviews. So I bought a couple of new toys this week. I bought a ring light that clips onto your iPad or your phone. Now, I did not see this on the internet. I saw it on a television show I was watching. There's that new sequel to Sex and the City, and I've been watching that. What's it called? And Just Like That. Well, in the background, in one of the scenes in the show, one of the characters has an iPad set up. She does Zoom stuff on it, and she has this little clip-on ring light. And I want to see if this was a real thing. It is. Not that expensive. I think it cost me $20 on Amazon. I got it. And actually, it's pretty dandy. It works pretty well. So I did a little video to show you how this works. I'm going to insert that right here. This is a neat little device that I bought from Amazon, and I've put the link in the show notes below. And what this is a ring light that just clips to an iPad or an iPhone. And as you can see, as long as your phone or your iPad isn't any thicker than that, which basically all iPhones and all iPads are about the same thickness, you just clip it on and away you go. Now, the beauty of this is it gives you more light. So if you're doing Zoom with your iPad or your iPhone, and excuse the dirtiness of my screen here, then you need a little bit more light. So it just turn it on. And I think I need to recharge it. Oh, no, there we go. Okay. You have to hold the button down, and you have 3 settings. That's the brightest, and then a little cooler light, and then this light, and then it just turns it off. Also, when you turn it on, there we go, you can, if you hold down the button, you can dim it. And you can see as I'm using my phone here, just how different the brightness is. This works pretty well for the price. It was about $20 Canadian on Amazon. And I thought I'd use it when I'm using Zoom for like my crafting chats. Because I often will set up this one because it's right next to my sewing machine. And it just gives me a little bit more light in this area as well. So if you're looking for a fairly inexpensive light source to make your videos, if you make them on your phone or on your iPad a little bit brighter, then I'd recommend this little iPad ring light. And I bought another electronic toy, and this is called an Elgato Stream Deck, and I'll show you a picture of it right here. And that's what I am doing when I'm reaching over and switching my screens. This is a great little device. I have known about them for a while, but they're not particularly inexpensive. They're not bad. But I saw a review of this one on a YouTube video, on one of the ones I subscribe to, and I thought, you know, this would make my life a little easier, because I like to switch my screens out. But to do that, I have to use my mouse, and I have to click in a very cumbersome way on different things on my computer to get to where I want to go. Whereas this, I push one button. And you can see, you program these buttons. There are 15, but you can have pages. So you see that arrow down at the bottom, and I'll just press on that. No, you won't see it if I do that. That's a still picture. But I just press on that, it goes to the next page. So on this page, I have set up everything that I use when I use OBS to make my videos. I can also go to Zoom. On the next page, I have controls that I use when I'm doing Zoom. And you can program it to do just about anything, and it's all just with a click of the button. It's very easy to use, very easy to set up. And so the cost, well, this was about $200 for this model. This is the 15 button model. You can get a smaller one that has 6 buttons, and it's about $109. And I'm talking about this in Canadian dollars. Now, if I had known what I know now, I think I could have got away with getting the 6 button one, because I didn't realize you could have multiple pages. And by the way, all those little icons you see in each of the buttons, you make those yourself. You customize it. They have a library of icons you can go to, but you can just about take anything, and they have a little program that sizes these to the right size, and it puts it up onto under the buttons, which I think is also very cool. It has a screensaver feature that which I don't have turned on right now, but if it sits for whatever length of time and you're not using it, it fills up the buttons like a little mosaic of whatever you're using as your picture for your screensaver, which is kind of cool too. So there's a lot of things this little thing does. It just plugs into a vacant USB port on your computer. It did say you can't plug it into a hub, It has to go directly in. And for me, that's a little bit of a problem because I got about 5 hubs on this computer with stuff hanging out of it. But I was able to rearrange a few things so I could plug it directly into a USB port that's attached to my computer. And as I said, it's been working like a charm. Haven't had any major problems with it. Was easy to set up. I am really glad I got it. It was worth the money. So let's go back to me by pushing a button. There we go. I pushed the button and I am back. I know, toys for big boys, right? Yep, I'm a big boy and I like my toys. Okay, so that takes me to the 3D corner. Speaking of toys, no, I did not buy another 3D printer. I have 3 now. That doesn't mean I won't buy another one at some time down the road. To be honest, I have been playing with the idea of buying a bigger one, but I'm not sure about that yet. That thought's on hold. So what have I been making though? Well, okay, one of the complaints a lot of people have with 3D printers is the fact that you waste a lot of plastic, and is this plastic recyclable? Well, yes, some of it is. The stuff I use is actually recyclable. It is PLA, and it's actually made from cornstarch. Can you believe it? I don't recommend you trying to eat it. Okay. But yes, it is recyclable. But then you have these reels that the filament comes on, and they're plastic as well. Now, some of them are recyclable. They show the little symbol on them. And so what I do is I toss them into my recycling bin. And so far they haven't been rejected by the people who pick up the garbage, so I guess it's okay. All right, so that's good. But it seems like these reels, there must be another use for them, really. So I know that there are people who design little drawers that you can put into these empty reels. You screw them in kind of thing, and it becomes a little drawer unit for holding, like, a lot of people use it for holding like nuts and bolts and small pieces and things like that. Well, you know me, I got thinking, what could I do with those? So I'm going to show you what I did with them. Here you go. I made a little caddy for holding sewing supplies. Now, on the bottom section are the little drawers I'm talking about, and they look like those drawers that are on the second tier as well. And there's a hole in the center, so I created a little cup, and it holds all these kind of things here. This is working out really well. One thing that I would like to do is, and it's the next time when I can get to a dollar store, I'm going to see if I can find a cheap little Lazy Susan, and I will put that underneath on the bob, and then I'll be able to spin it around. But here's what it looks like when the drawers are open. See, they just slide out, and this was real easy to make. It took some time. I had to fool around with getting the drawers the right size. Now, I did not design these drawers. These drawers, there's all kinds of them on Thingiverse, and they're in various sizes. But I ended up making several different sizes until I got the ones that fit properly under here. That's why I had these left over, and that's why I didn't really want to throw them out or whatever. So I created this part. So I did a little bit more. I had a few extra drawers, so I made another one of these caddies, like the one you just saw, that holds my sewing things, to hold all of the stuff that I reach for on a regular basis when I'm doing 3D printing. And I had these ones left over, so I put them together, and they hold all my Sharpie markers as well. They were buried in a cupboard somewhere, and I thought, well, let's just get them out because, you know, out of sight, out of mind. But if they're out there, I might reach for them a little more often. So yeah, I'm doing my part to keep things out of the landfill. And oh, in this one you may notice that these two shelves here are drawers are a little bit shorter than these two, so you get a tiered effect. That was not by design. That was an oops. That's when I was fooling around with altering the sizes of the drawers. But I thought, hey, I'm not going to waste these either. Now, I did ask Walter if he wanted one of these, and he said no. Reason being, he says he doesn't have any room for it. So fine. Will I make more of them? Well, not really. I mean, because I don't know. I don't need any more myself of these. You know, sometimes I think I should open up an Etsy store or something like that, but it's the shipping. More than anything else, it's the shipping of things like this that would cost. Plus, you know, I'm very particular about the final product if I'm going to give it to somebody else or sell it to somebody else. These are not absolutely perfect, but they serve my purposes. And that's okay for me. But if you're getting money for something, I want it to be absolutely perfect. And these are not absolutely perfect. But I just thought it was a great way to, you know, recycle, upscale and recycle. Okay. Well, I did more 3D printing as well. And you're going to get a kick out of this. At least I did. And here you go. I 3D printed a couple of egg cup holders, and these are angry birds. When I saw this design, I had to print it out because I thought it was just so screaming funny. I did these in a marble type of filament, and they work fine. No problem. And we actually do eat a lot of soft-boiled eggs, usually on the weekends. And we have a couple of egg cups, but we broke one, and we've been using a shot glass to replace that one. So I thought, hey, practical print. Now, I'm always a little leery about printing anything that's going to come into contact with food. You can buy food grade filament for things, but the problem is you need to have a 3D printer pretty much that's dedicated to only printing on food grade filament, because otherwise your printer is contaminated if you've used other types of filament. However, food isn't really going to be touching these egg cup shells because the shell is left on the egg, and so I'm okay with that. But and PLA, of course, too, is really not as bad as other filament types because it's basically, as I told you, made from like cornstarch, which is a biodegradable and food product in itself. But I would not make cookie cutters or things like that out of PLA. I just wouldn't want to take the chance. But I think it's fine with the eggs. So that was kind of fun. So I thought, you know, if they're this size and holding an egg, how about a pincushion? So I did. I made a pincushion. I see I got to clean this up a little bit. I just finished making this morning before I went on the air. Got a little glue over here too that I got to clean up. But you know me and pincushions and 3D printing. So I just added another pincushion to my collection. This one I did out of something called Silk Red. And I'm just going to take my heat gun and go over it. And all these little strands you're seeing here right now will smooth right out when I do that. But just another little fun thing. I guess you could say that the egg cups and the pincushion are a practical print. That's a term that's used in the 3D printing community because they are usable. They are useful. Okay, so I've been doing all of that. Did I make anything else? Oh, there was one more thing I want to show you that I did make as well. And I have made this before. I actually have seen this as a pin cushion. This one's going to be a flower pot. It's a little bigger. Actually, the original design of this, again, not one of my designs because I don't know how to really design in CAD programs. Somebody else designed this. And I've made several pin cushions out of this little guy because he's really cute. But I'm growing philodendrons. We've had for years and years and years and years, like 30 years probably. Well, no, maybe not 30 years, because it used to be Walter's oldest sister's philodendron, and she passed away 12, 15 years ago. I'm not sure how long ago that was. But anyway, so it was something that we got from her house, and I love philodendrons because it's probably the only plant that I never kill. And during COVID, since COVID started, I have been taking cuttings from it, rooting them, and then planting them. So I now have a kitchen counter. Well, it's not my kitchen counter. It's a little piece that they called them a breakfast bar. Yeah, it's not big enough really for that. This ledge, and that's where all my philodendrons sit. And I just keep making more flower pots and putting them in it. My original idea was that I was going to give some of these philodendrons, I was going to take them over to my mother's nursing home to spruce up things. But even though philodendrons are hardy, they would die. in the nursing home because my mother wouldn't give them any water, and neither does the help. So that idea never happened. But I have all these philodendrons now. And they look really quite nice. So I make unique flower pots for them. And this is what this guy is going to be. Now you're going to say, well, why is he green on the bottom and purple on the top? Was that a plan? Not really. I ran out of filament. I looked at my roll and realized, ooh, I'm not going to have enough green to finish him. And I didn't have any more green filament. So I stopped the printing, replaced it with purple filament, and let it pick up. And that's always a risk when you do that kind of thing, pausing a print in the middle. But my printer worked very well with that. And so I have a 2-color flower pot. And that's okay. It just adds to the whimsical nature of these. So, yeah. I've got to do something else today. I started one, it didn't work. I'm making a dragon. A friend of mine is moving out into an apartment, and he's into all kinds of video games that have fantasy characters in it. And I thought, this is somebody that I mentioned already that I made a quilt for his housewarming. Well, we've decided when we're having the housewarming, it's going to be in a couple of weeks' time. And so I've got the quilt all ready for him. But I thought, you know, just for fun in his apartment for a little tchotchke or something like that, I'd make him a dragon. And there are tons of dragon 3D prints out there. Now I saw one, it had a lot of supports to it. I thought it might work. Well, I thought it probably wouldn't work either because there was too many things that could go wrong with it, because the detail in this kind of figure are very, very fine. And anytime you get into something that's really small parts, really fine detail, you're going to run into problems with your 3D printer. At least I do. So I started this yesterday, and yeah, before I went to bed last night, I took a look at it, and yeah, it wasn't going to work. So I'm going to find a different design and try a different one. So that's my challenge this week, to see if I can make a dragon on the 3D printer. Okay, so that's all I have to show you about that. So that takes me to Blast from the Past, and it is another video in my continuing series of our trip to Australia in 2019. And this is Brisbane still, and I call it On the Streets of Brisbane, so you get a look to see what's going on, what Brisbane is all about. Brisbane's great. If you ever go to Australia, Brisbane's on the east coast of Australia. Melbourne is down on the sort of the southwest corner. Sydney is sort of the southern part of Australia. There's great distances between all these places, okay? Well, basically, the distance between Brisbane and Melbourne is kind of like going from Ontario, where I live, to, Alberta, kind of a thing. So, if you ever go to Australia and you want to see the whole of Australia, be prepared for a lot of flights and be there for about 6 weeks or more. Anyways, you don't have to worry about that because you get to see my videos. So I'm going to drop that one in here for you right now.
So every morning on the trip, we've been doing our own breakfast. We bought some eggs, we've got some ham, some cheese, and some toast here. And we don't have eggs and ham every day, but the other day we went to I think Woolies, and picked up some ham to make sandwiches or something, but we never got around to making sandwiches. So we're having it for brekkie. We're a little limited in what we can cook or how we can cook, although we do have a full kitchen with the gas burners, which I've never really used gas before. It scares me a little bit, but Walter's done some eggs. Now, we couldn't really fry them. He soft boiled them because we don't need oil or butter or anything. We didn't buy any of that. And so we've just been, the pot that came with the room is not very good for frying in. That's what we do most mornings. Usually just have toast with some peanut butter and have a little cheese and that kind of thing. But that's what we do when we're here. So we're down at the North Quay waiting for the City Hopper boat. And we're going to take this over to, where are we taking this to? Timber or something?
We'll probably get off to
Kangaroo Point. Okay, so we're on Kangaroo Point to see what we can see there. Another perspective of the city down from one of the keys. It's a city of bridges. There's a lot of bridges across the river. Okay, so once again, we're on the river. This is kind of how we started the vacation.
Today's the 9th.
Yep.
Today's the day we would have flown back to Paris.
Oh, okay. Plans change.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We had okay time.
Yeah.
The extra days here too, so it's a bit more relaxing.
Balconies. Smiley boy. And we're going down the elevator on the other side of that bridge. And we're going to Felon's Brewery, where we had lunch when we were in Brisbane, back there when we first started our vacation. So we just had lunch at Felon Brewery and doing what we usually do. Drink beer. Enjoy the view. Yes, it's a very lovely day today. But every day in Brisbane's been lovely. So this is a pathway we have not walked before. Botanical gardens are up there. River down here. So just another view of the city. Still walking along the river bank here, but this is a little bit of a muddy spot. You can see someone had a bottle of wine. No crocodiles. Looks like this might be a little party area here.
Yeah.
Amount of garbage. And this is the Queensland Parliament. Or so it says. So I guess it is. And this is the front of the Parliament House. And we're back on Queen Street Plaza. We're at Jimmy's again where we ate last night, but we're sitting upstairs having a beer. Well, Walter's gone to get the beers, that is.
So that takes us to what has happened in the last week. Not a heck of a lot. This past Wednesday, we had our monthly craft and chat, and that was a lot of fun. And the next one will be on, I think it works out to February the 5th. Don't quote me on that. I'd have to look at a calendar, and I don't have one handy. Yes, I do. What am I lying about? No, I'm sorry. It was not the 5th. It is February the 2nd. That's when the next Craft and Chat is going to be. So, if you've never been to one before, and if you're free, starts at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, consider joining us, and there'll be links for it when we get closer to the date in the show notes. And it was great. We had a good time. I got a lot done. Well, actually, I didn't. I was working on those houses, and my concentration wasn't really there because, I was talking to people and things like that, and so I screwed up on a couple of them. Had to do a little unsewing, as people like to refer to it, but that's okay. So had a lot of fun. It's always a good time. So what else did we do last week? Nothing. Nope. We didn't go anywhere. Well, that's not true. I did go to Ultimate Sewing on this past Friday to pick up some fabric that I ordered. And if you're interested in finding out what I got and what I'm going to do with it, that'll be in the Idiot Quilter episode tomorrow. It's a new line of fabric from Northcott. Well, it's not new in the sense that it's a continuation of a line they've been running for quite a long time, and it's the 10th anniversary of this line, and I had to have it. But I'll talk more about that on the Idiot Quilter. And yeah, didn't do anything else this week. That's the life of living in the pandemic. I mean, I'm busy all the time. I'm busy with my 3D printers. I'm busy with my quilting. I have to catch up on my stories, as I call them, my television programs. Always searching for recipes. God, we're having a hard time figuring out what to eat these days. Nothing sounds appealing. I mean, I'm hungry. I want to eat, but I want to eat something different. And just don't find anything. So I've been scouring the internet looking for interesting recipes for things. So yeah, I'll continue my search for that. So, yep, that's it for me this week. Thank you for joining me. And watch for the Idiot Quilter episode in So Chatty. I'm not sure what we're going to do on So Chatty this week. I've had a request from someone to talk about pantographs and show them on my Lucy. So we're thinking about setting the Lucy up with one of my UFOs and actually showing how you go about doing pantograph on it. So that might be it. We'll see how that works out. But anyways, I hope you have a great week. I hope you're not going too stir crazy. I hope you're feeling okay and you're vaxxed and everything and staying safe and not being a yahoo and getting on a plane and partying your brains out. Okay? Learn from other people's mistakes. So that's it for me for now. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.